All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today on Facebook Live during our COVID series of talks that we're having with Westchester County. I'm Deputy County Executive Ken Jenkins, and I'm pleased to be here this morning talking to Executive Director, good friend of mine for many, many years, the Executive Director of Nonprofit Westchester, Jan Fisher. Jan, thank you for being with us today. As we've been going through these challenges for us, basically from March 3rd, which was the first date of a Westchester case for the coronavirus, COVID-19. The value of our not-for-profit partners have been just shown with a great light as we talk about essential workers and essential services and the things that nonprofit Westchester and your member agencies have to deal with and to do. So if we do that, let's talk about for a few minutes and recognize the services of the nonprofit services sector here in Westchester County and the kind of things that your agencies and you yourself are doing. So Jan, thanks a lot for being with us.
Thank you, Ken, and thank you both to you and the county executive and your team for working with us day in and day out to make sure that we can do the best job possible. So our work is a partnership with Westchester County, and we are really, really grateful for that partnership and everything you bring to the table. So with that, the nonprofit sector has been very busy. We, in many ways, our organizations are still doing what they have been doing previously. We are providing daycare. We are providing support to older adults in the nursing homes. We are operating homes for people with developmental disabilities. But we're providing services to people in shelters with mental illness. The difference now is that our workers, these essential workers, are doing this at great risk to their own lives. Many of them are taking 2 B-line buses to get to work to do this. So they are a proud, skilled group of people that continue to provide the essential services that they've always provided during a much more stressful time. You know, what we see also is staff at all levels of nonprofits. We have CEOs that are delivering meals, CEOs that are providing direct care as is legal for them to do so. So we are still boots on the ground and doing the work that we've always done, just at even more risk to ourselves. You know, we have equally as dedicated employees and workers that are morphing their services creatively and innovatively to make sure that our children receive educational and social emotional supports, that seniors are still connected to their communities, that we're gatekeepers now. We see community centers becoming distribution sites, you know, both serving our immigrant neighbors and, you know, our neighbors that are most vulnerable. You know, our food pantries are still making sure the hungry get food. But now, as we know, the governor came out with his data. The need in Westchester is the greatest need of all in the state. Our increase is 200% in terms of what Feeding Westchester and the food pantries are doing. So we are, you know, virtually keeping people of all ages connected, and we are continuing to provide essential services to essential workers as well. And
so Jan, so one of the real interesting things, as you say, you're on both sides of this particular pandemic and the response to that, both as support for first responders and the essential workers through the services that you provide and your member agencies provide, whether that is for healthcare or healthcare with childcare and for for food pantries and those kind of things, but the supportive services that many of the organizations do. Talk for a few minutes about the kind of changes that the agencies have had to do in this pandemic in adapting their services where social distancing and certainly protective gear make a part of what we have to do right now.
Yeah, so certainly people providing direct care to groups of individuals who are at great risk or are coronavirus positive. There have been challenges across the country, across the state, across the county as a result in people having the protective gear that they need. I know the county has been working really hard to ensure that our workers have the PPE, the protective gear that they need to do their work. But we know at the beginning of this crisis, a lot of that wasn't available. And we were all working around the clock with government to make sure that the workers that were providing personal care to people, nursing homes, senior centers, different types of congregant care settings where people were at very high risk for coronavirus, our workers needed the protective gear, and they still need the protective gear. In terms of the challenges of working with people with disabilities, working with seniors, they thrive on the nurture that they get from our workers. And working with people with disabilities, they may or may not understand how you have to distance yourself from them. So that's a challenge for the workers to want to provide comfort and care and support, but may not be able to in those times. And that exacerbates a level of stress and tension, that our staff members have been unbelievably resilient at providing for vulnerable populations. We have children in congregant care settings too, in some of our organizations. And I'm working hard not to just mention one agency because we have close to 200 and all of them in some way, shape or form are just doing an amazing job. So I'm trying not to mention anyone, but we have children in congregant care settings who, can't release their energy, can't, play sports and play basketball and bump into each other and do those things that kids like to do. So creatively, our staff is reinventing ways for our young people to release their energy. So kids that may have once been real sports maniacs are now realizing the beauty of arts and drawing and doing things like that instead. So that staff is quick on their feet, and we're a very nimble group to begin with, and so that's what we're doing. We have organizations that primarily served low-income children or seniors, but are now opening their services to all residents because bringing everyone together at this time really does foster community and caring and understanding. And, that's something that is really important right now. So bringing people together and not keeping services in a box.
One of the real challenges, as you mentioned, that different folks have different needs. And for the folks that you mentioned, certainly folks in our special needs community and certainly our seniors, routine is extremely important. And if nothing else has happened through this particular process, is a total change in routines. And whether that routine is people working from home or working remotely or being able to talk and touch and have the tactile things. We all know people, or we already know people learn differently and they have different experiences. I know I'm a big hugger, right? And this is a bad time for me because, we can't hug anybody or can't shake a hand and that kind of thing. So, what kind of challenges as we're walking through this? You talked about the food challenges that people are having that the governor mentioned. That was eye-opening for many people. I mean, they saw the New York City number and said, hey, New York City was 100% more of a need and in the island and Nassau and Suffolk at a 50% increase of food pantry and food need. And then they saw Westchester, one of the richest counties in the country, with a 200% increase in food insecurities and that kind of thing. So that was a challenge. So as we're continuing to go through this, talk a little bit about that without specifically on an agency.
Yeah, so, we here in Westchester understand, those of us who live here and are involved in government and the nonprofit sector, that we are often a tale of two cities, that we have communities of such tremendous wealth, really the wealthiest people in the country live here. And then we have communities where families are clearly as loving, want the same thing for their children and themselves, yet they are facing extreme poverty. These are families that depended on free and reduced lunch from our schools, depended on each other. In some of our lower income communities, there is just such a sense of community. People come together. They know each other's names. They know that your grandmother was in the hospital last week. This is what you see on the streets and in the community centers. And people really do take care of each other in these communities, perhaps in a different way than in other communities, but we don't have the same resources to feed our children, to feed our at-risk seniors. The community centers are shut down, the schools are shut down. So where are people getting their food? And that, like many other communities, has really, really impacted Westchester. And I will say, with that, we have seen government, we have seen nonprofits, and we have seen for-profit businesses come together. I've always been a real big proponent of public-private partnerships, of each of those sectors coming to the table, respecting each other's expertise. And I do hope, I don't like the silver lining analogy, because there's no silver lining to coronavirus. But if something positive does come out of this, I am hoping that as we move into the future, as we move into recovery and post-pandemic efforts, that we recognize that the partnerships between business, nonprofit, and government are even stronger, and that each sector is reliant on each other. The nonprofit sector is not more reliant on the business sector than the business sector is reliant on nonprofits. We provide the childcare. We take care of your parents. We take care of your children. We provide after school. We provide workforce development for our young people and for others. And we do that in collaboration with government and with business. There's such opportunity to do it even better and with more respect and with more collaboration.
Well, one of those things, and that's important as you're talking about, as we're going through recovery efforts, understanding that, we're going to have to continue to do a lot of social distancing. We're going to have to do things a lot differently than in this particular time frame, while we know that we still don't have a vaccine and therapeutics or drugs to treat coronavirus. So we need to make sure to continue to do a lot of things. Our not-for-profit partners in Westchester County, we have over 900 contracts with not-for-profit agencies, which people don't realize when we talk through them. And some of your member agencies have multiple contracts with us as we work through this. You want to talk, and as we talk about the future and how the partnerships work, giving people an opportunity, because some of those folks that are at home right now have a little bit of time that they can share with some of those valuable not-for-profit partners. Can you tell them how can they work together in taking some of the good learnings that we've had and use those as we move forward in this new normal?
So, for the nonprofit sector, what is most important to us at this point is we really start to address the new normal. We've been living in a new normal. And, as I stated, civil legal services, the arts, after school, all the wonderful programs that nonprofits have, mental health, domestic violence, all these needs are now being met virtually. And for some time, it is likely that they're going, as we, work with the governor's office and others to phase in what is essential, we're going to need to keep our community stable by providing these services. At the same time, the nonprofit sector, we are businesses, we are employers, and our workers are a significant percentage of the workforce. So as we begin to deal with the new normal again, as an economic engine in the county, we have to be part of the solution. We have to be brought into these conversations. And, this administration has been wonderful. I've had conversations with Bridget Gibbons, from on workforce issues, on economic issues. We have been brought to the table. Another area that really has, unfortunately or fortunately, come out is an area that nonprofits and Nonprofit Westchester has really wanted to take some leadership with, in partnership with the county. What we see are disparities based on race, that we see that coronavirus is really showing the ugliness of what we all know as systemic racism, historical systemic racism. People of color don't have as great access to healthcare, to education, to so many things. So we have to address this as part of our recovery. We have to address it now. Coronavirus is killing people in general. It's killing people of color at a disproportionate rate. Why is that? Education, we're really concerned about our young people. And what we see is that the digital divide is impacting children of color and low-income children more than their wealthier peers. So an existing academic achievement divide is now going to be even greater. So I challenge people to think of, maybe their preconceived notions, both about nonprofits and the people we serve, and to, turn to Volunteer New York, that is a member agency. See what you can do, how you can contribute, to the solution to these issues, how you can mentor a young person, how you can really support efforts to lift your community up for all people. That's what nonprofits are about. We are about lifting people up and providing them with skills to lead their best life. So we want the rest of the community to realize that and to engage us in the conversations, because when we talk about recovery, we bring things to mind and we bring communities and people to mind that others often leave out. We can't leave them out anymore.
No, and again, Jan, it's really, really important. And again, just to remind people, we're talking with Jan Fisher, the Executive Director of Nonprofit Westchester, how people can get involved and engaged with the nonprofits that are in their community that they're helping out now. Certainly, you mentioned one way with one of your member agencies, Volunteer New York, but there are so many different agencies that you all are part of, making sure, again, to get them involved. Can they reach out to you, Jan, at Nonprofit Westchester to help connect them to this?
Yeah, for sure. So, there are people in the business community that have expertise that will certainly benefit us. We have a lot of expertise that benefit others as well. I'm happy to speak to anybody. My email address is Fisher, no C, at npwestchester.org. And my phone number, which I think everybody in Westchester has now, which is great, it's my cell phone is 914-439-0203. I'm happy to really speak to, we've been providing services and counsel to even those nonprofits that are not members of Nonprofit Westchester. So I'm happy to speak to anybody. If anybody has an idea, if anybody wants to help, if they have an expertise that they think could benefit, please call me. If we can't use you, there's somebody that can, for sure.
So Jane, can they, and can they go to your nonprofit Westchester website to
Yes,
click
that
on
was,
that too as well? So,
yeah, please. So that was the other, so it's www.npwestchester.org.
so npwestchester.org. So certainly there's many different ways to do that. And as we continue with the challenges that we have with our not-for-profit partners, in the ways that we are changing in our new socially distant world, with making sure that we're protecting workers, making sure that we're wearing face coverings and trying to do things, again, without the tactile touching that's necessary in many of the entities and workers that are out there. Most people don't recognize almost all of your entities that your member agencies are essential by the governor's executive order. And they've been trying to figure out ways to continue to work and making those changes necessary. So we're going to ask our Westchester family out there to make sure that they are partnering and connecting and touching the agencies that have been working with them and for them for many, many years through Nonprofit Westchester, and making sure they reach out to you, Jan, and to the agencies that you're connected with.
Yeah, thank you, Ken. And, for those of you who are in a position and have agencies that you're connected to, or agencies that you feel are doing an exceptional job, many of our fundraising events and funding opportunities are in a precarious state right now. And so if you are able to donate and donate generously, please do so. Every bit helps. And by generously, I mean generously relative to who you are. Everything counts, and every show of support, whether it's through volunteering, whether it's through, financially, whether it's through just having conversations, it is really invigorating for us. And it makes the nonprofit sector, who are on the front lines and who are the ones who are still providing services virtually, it feels good to be recognized and to be supported by people in the community. So anything you can do, we are here to listen and to explore ideas together.
Well, Jan, we really want to thank you for taking time out. I mean, we know how busy our not-for-profit partners are, and we know the things and the great work that you do in making sure you're available and advocating on behalf of the nonprofit community here in Westchester County, even those people that are not members of the organization, like they should be, but they don't continue to work and do that. That was a shameless plug for Jan Fisher and our friends at Nonprofit Westchester, and being able to coordinate that. But we're all going to continue to do that together, understanding that there's not going to be a silver bullet. There's not going to be one magic thing that happens that's going to be able to pull us all together. The partnership between our not-for-profit partners, member agencies that are part of Nonprofit Westchester, our government entities, the state and federal levels, working with the county and making sure that we're doing this all together in this new normal. So Jan, we want to say thank you for taking some time with us today and sharing with the people of Westchester the great work that's being done for Nonprofit Westchester, and make sure that you are taking that opportunity to continue to be safe as you're working with all of those agencies. So thanks again, Jan.
Thank you so much. And your longtime support of the nonprofit sector over decades is really, now more than ever, is so appreciated. You, the county executive, and just your incredible team across the board. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Jan. Well, thanks again. All right, Westchester, thanks again for participating with us on Facebook Live as we're continuing to talk through the different challenges we have in Westchester and getting through this recovery model and working through this new normal. We know we're all going to do that, and we're only going to do it by working together. So thanks again, Jan. Thanks, Westchester. Keep being safe and make sure we're practicing social distancing, but beyond everything, be safe. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.